We have been going live once to twice a month, depending on the month, going through all of the 11 classes that are going to be offered at the Stardust and Shadows Soiree Rainbow Market on both Friday and Saturday. So we've done the Valkyrie Bootcamp, we've done the main character energy, goal setting workshop, and today we are doing the Valkyrie mobility and stretching. So I'm really excited about this one for multiple, I feel like I say that for all of them. I'm really excited for all of them, but I'll tell you why I'm really excited for this one. I'm really excited for this one because the Valkyrie Bootcamp Awakening, the 1-hour class, was something that I created last Starfall, and I have revamped the curriculum, so it's something new that's coming to you, but it's a class that has already been created. The Valkyrie Training Bootcamp, that is Ascension, the 2-hour one, again, new, because it's a more in-depth, like workshop-y aspect of learning more of the shield and sword combinations, self-defense combinations, combat combinations, group training and communication skills, but again, based off of that class from Starfall. Valkyrie Mind Stilling, same thing. I did it last year, created a new class for this year at Stardust and Shadows Soiree, but this class, this Valkyrie Mobility and Stretching class, is completely new. I actually just finished the curriculum, putting it together for what I'm going to teach you guys, as well as what I'm putting into our Nexus app, which is our fantasy fitness in the palm of your hand on your phone app. I just finished putting that curriculum together, and I really love what I did because I love making everything I do not just a workout, not just stretching, not just yoga, not just meditation, but I like making it educational. So when this class is coming to you guys, just like I did with the mind stilling class where I explain the science behind the meditation and behind the breath work, I'm doing the same thing in this class where I'm explaining the science behind what mobility is, what flexibility is, the differences between them, the difference between mobility and resistance training, and then teaching you guys the benefits of them, and then teaching you guys how to take what you learn in this mobility and stretching class, this Valkyrie mobility and stretching class, and then you can take it with you after you leave the class and be able to apply it in your daily life so that you can kind of continue to, I like to say, oil the hinges of your joints and your body and your fascia and your muscles. So I'm really excited to bring this class to you guys. It's going to be a brand new class that's going to be introduced at Stardust. And as well, I wanted to say that with that being said, there is going to be educational components, like I said, and I'm not going to dive super deep into them for the sample today because I don't want to take too long just spending 10 minutes educating you guys. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to educate you guys on instead of actually educating you guys on it, and then we'll get to some example exercises where we're going to use the shield, we're going to use the sword, and we're going to use a tennis ball, lacrosse ball, whatever you have available. So if you don't have a sword and shield, no worries. Anything that you can kind of like put above your head, whether it's a water bottle, whether it's a gallon of milk, backpack will work for the shield. And then for the sword, you can use a broomstick, you can use a towel, you can use a blanket, and all of those, a belt, all of those will work for the shield supplement. But with that being said, like I said, this is one of the 11 classes that we're offering in May. So stay tuned because there's going to be one more class each month up until May where we're still going to go over the Assassins and Healers Self-Defense class, as well as the Quinlan's Cardio Dance class, which I'm really excited. I'm excited for all of them. And then the Quinlan's Cardio Dance, I didn't even finish saying it because I was so excited, as well as the Dusk Court Yoga. So those are all going to be coming up in the next 3 months so that you guys can see previews for those as well. And as always, we do have a contest where if you stay till the end of this video and listen to the question that I ask you based on this class, you can get entered to win a free membership to our Nexus app, which I said is all of our fantasy fitness programming in the palm of your hand. So you get access to pretty much the classes that you go to in person, but on your phone in an app. And I'm giving a month of a membership of that away free before you even attend Stardust. So anyway, I can keep talking for you guys forever about how excited I am about bringing all these classes to you guys, but we're going to dive into it. So Valkyrie Mobility and Stretching, who is it for? It is going to be an all levels class. When it comes to what you need to bring, you don't need to bring a shield, you don't need to bring a sword, you don't need to bring a lacrosse ball or anything like that. You just need to bring your body. If you prefer to not lie on the ground without something between you and the ground, make sure you bring a yoga mat or a towel or a blanket, anything that you can use as a barrier between you and the ground, because we will be laying on the ground. If you don't mind laying on the ground, I don't mind laying on the ground, you can just lay on the ground directly. So all you need to bring is yourself, attire that allows you to move easily. That being said, I always say all of my classes are cosplay friendly. So as long as you can like bend over, lay down, and get back up without, sometimes the wings make it a little hard, but can get up and down easily with your cosplay attire on. Cosplay is always welcome. I think it always makes for great photos of you guys using the swords and the shields in your cosplay attire. And then as well, always a water bottle to stay hydrated. So just you, yourself, water bottle, and then maybe a yoga mat if you want it. I will be supplying everything else that you guys need. I already told you a little bit of what to expect. So with that being said, we're going to dive into a little bit of a sample of the class so that you guys can really understand what to expect. So in the beginning of the class, we're going to kind of do a little bit of an educational portion. That's only going to take about 10 minutes or so, but explaining the difference between mobility, flexibility, joint health, and well, I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I'm going to explain briefly the difference between mobility and flexibility, because I think this is really important for you to know if you want to attend the class. And the reason I'm putting this out there as well is because a lot of people ask for like a Valkyrie yoga class, but within the books of the Akatar series, the Valkyries don't do yoga. They do core work, they do balance work, they do strength training, they do mobility stretching, they do mobility, they do stretching. So I wanted to make sure I stayed honest to the series and didn't make up Valkyrie yoga, because that wasn't something that Nesta or the girls or Cassian did or mentioned that the Valkyries did previously. So that's why we have the dust court yoga, because I feel like that's something more attuned to the dust court and doing the moon salutations, and we kept Valkyrie to the mobility and stretching, which is very attuned to what the women have been doing so far in the series. So if you like yoga, if you like stretching, if you like working on range of motions, this class will be good for you. If you like yoga and you like learning about how to move your body, this class will be good for you. So mobility versus flexibility. The easiest way to explain it is mobility is your body moving in an active range of motion, meaning I'm using my muscles to move my body in said range of motion, where flexibility is moving your body in a passive range of motion. So one of the easiest ways to explain this is to have you hold your hand up and say, okay, take your fingers and bend your fingers back. So this is a passive action. I'm not using my muscles and my hand to bend my fingers back. I'm using my hand to bend my fingers back. So this is flexibility. Now mobility is using my muscles, meaning I'm going to use the muscles in my hand to bend my fingers back. Again, a difference would be being here, lifting my leg up and extending it. That's mobility of my leg, where grabbing it and extending it would be flexibility, active versus passive, using the muscles versus not using the muscles. And both of them have really good benefits for your body, but both of them do really different things. And we're going to dive deep into that in this class as well. As well, in terms of education, things we're going to go over is the concept of fascia. So if you've ever heard that word, or it's kind of it goes around with the foam rolling and the self-myofascial release, SMR. We're going to dive deep into what that is so you can understand it better for your body. We're going to go into the understanding of like muscle imbalances, muscle engagement, muscle not firing, all these kind of words that you hear when you scroll through social media and try to like figure out how to cure your shoulder pain. We're going to talk about that stuff. And then from there, we're also going to talk about acronyms like CARS, which is controlled articular rotations. So moving a joint in the complete range of motion, but with control. And then PMF, which is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, which I'm going to dive into in the class. So just stay tuned for that, because there's not an easy way to really explain that in our 30 minutes today. From there, once we do our little educational segment, we're going to dive into the rest of the class. And this is an hour class in total. The rest of the class being a joint by joint mobility session. Now, we're not going to do every joint today because then I'd pretty much give you the whole class. But we're going to do a couple joints where we're going to use the sword, use the shield, use the lacrosse ball, and we're going to start with mobility, which is active training. So it's not just like passive stretching where we're going to just plop down on the floor. We're going to be doing movements that, like I said, lubricate our joints. And then from there, we'll go on the floor, do a couple passive stretches because mobility and flexibility are both important. And then we'll end with some self-myofascial release to work on that fascia. So we're going to get into it. Okay. Bring my water bottle with me. And we're going to start on the floor, kneeling with our sword. Like I said, if you don't have a sword, no biggie, it's okay. And we're going to get a 2-for-1 here. So we're going to get some wrist articulation, but we're also going to stretch our ankles. So when you sit on the floor, you're going to tuck your toes under this way and sit back. Now, if this is too much for you, you can always put a towel or a pillow either under your shins or between your calf and your thigh. Whatever works for you will relieve some of that additional pressure on the toes. So we're going to stay like this for the first round. And then the second round, we're going to point our toes and we're going to sit back this way. And one thing to touch with that is a lot of people, their heels will push out. Try to keep your heels together as much as you can. Now with that being said, we're going to tuck our toes, we're going to keep them there, and we're going to move on to radial ulnar deviation. Now you don't need to know what these big words are. Essentially all we're doing is working on the strength of our wrist, moving like a handshake, because we do this all day, we're typing, we're in the car, but a lot of us don't work this action, which can actually cause wrist pain. So we're going to hold our sword up, pointy end up, because we got to stick them with the pointy end. And from there, we're going to move our wrist back and forth and try to stay in a straight line. So if you look at me this way, I'm not going this way or that way, back and forth. And we're just going to do 5 times for both wrists, just so you guys can get an idea of it. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll switch to the other side. So this class is very low intensity. We're just working on strengthening the muscles and strengthening the joints. 5 times on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from there, we're going to point our toes. Like I said, try to keep the heels together. Same exercise, pointy end down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't stab yourself if you're using a real sword. I'm going to turn sideways for this last one so you can see it. My sword's a little long, so I'll raise my wrist up a little bit just so I don't hit myself. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that is our wrist warm up that we're doing today. From there, we're going to go into moving into the thoracic spine. So if you've done yoga before, you've probably heard the cobra pose. We're going to do sword cobra crunches. I'm going to break it down for you. So we're coming to our stomach. And now cobra pose, how I like to explain it or get into it, is we're going to point our toes, heels together, push into the floor so our knees and our quads turn on. That protects our low back. From there, we bring our thumbs by our lowest rib, pull the elbows in, and I like to tent the fingers. I know formal cobra pose, we don't do that, but I feel like that gets the shoulders back a little bit more for the goal we have here. And then what I like to do is also tuck that low rib under versus flaring it out, because that actually also goes into the low back. And we're looking for a thoracic extension, not lumbar extension. So we'll tuck that bottom rib under, elbows here. So this is where we're going. So we're going to come here, and we're going to come up, and here, and up. But because this is Valkyrie mobility and stretching, we're going to add a sword component. So we're going to take our sword, as long as the blade's not sharp, and we're going to bring it behind us like we're putting a barbell on our back. And then from there, we're going to do 10 cobra crunches. So we're going to lift up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know about you guys, but I felt that. So you should feel all of right here firing, and that's really important because a lot of us are very weak there, and so that's where that slouching comes in, and that's going to pull us back so that we don't have that hump in our back. I mean, unless you're going for like Crohn's status and you want that like old witchy hump, by all means, but the Cobra Crunchers are going to keep our shoulders back and keep our posture high so we don't get that neck pain and shoulder pain. Okay, from there, we are going to do Krum Pao figure eights. The Krum Pao goes back to like the European sword fighting dictionary. So it's just the direction of which we are moving the sword. And for the class, we're going to be doing this in a whole bunch of different ways. We're going to be doing it in small figure eights. We're going to be doing it in big figure eights. But for today, we're just going to be focusing on having a smaller version, and then we'll work into the bigger versions in the class when you guys come. So what you're going to imagine is your sword. You're going to pull it and go in a circle. So the point is making an 8, but we're going to do it in a little bit of a smaller direction. And we're going to do 5 of these in total. So I was showing you them, so now we'll do them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll do the other side. Now we would go counterclockwise as well, and that's more of like the striking aspect of it. But like I said, I can only give you guys so much of the class today, so you got to come to the actual class if you want the full version. So again, we're going to take the sword and we're going to make 8s. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going ahead of myself. I only said 5 and I said 8. I'm doing the full 10 count that we're going to do in class. So those are called Krum Pao. So again, we can take those to a full striking level and we get some combat in there, but come to mobility and stretching if you want to learn that stuff. The last one we're going to do for the mobility side of things for the preview. Now, there's a lot of different names for this movement. Some people call it a lateral squat. Some people call it a Cossack squat. Some people call it a Cossack squat. Some people call it Skandasana if you're into yoga. I always like to say, movement's movement. We all just speak different languages. So the gist of it, before we bring the shield into it, is some people teach us with your toes forward, some people teach us with your toes turned out as much as you can, some people teach it at 45. I like to say around 45. Essentially, we're coming down to bend our knee as much as we can, keeping our heel on the ground. So if you need to adjust in or out, like do a test run first, see how wide your legs need to be. And then you come down from there. Now, again, a lot of people teach us a lot of different ways. So you can teach it with your feet staying on the ground for the straight leg, or you can teach it with your toes pointing up with your quad tight. There's no wrong way with that. Both of them do different things for your body. So I say whatever one feels safer for you, we're going to go with today. So I'm going to do toes up just because that feels a little bit better on my legs. I did legs this morning and I'm a little sore. So the movement, if you can't get this low, maybe you're here, that's great. That's where your Cossack is. But the idea is that we're going to go back and forth between both sides. But because it's Valkyrie mobility and stretching, we're going to add a shield component. So you have a couple options. You can keep it center and just use it as a weight, or you can keep it above you, which is going to keep your chest tall. And we're going to go left, right is 1, 5 times. Sound good? All right. So grab your shield however you want to grab your shield. I'm going to go up, and we're going to go back and forth. So that's 1, 2. That's 3, 4, last one, and 5. Good job. All right, take a water break if you need to, because although this is low intensity, you're still working your muscles. So we still want to stay hydrated so we don't dehydrate those muscles that we're adding hydration back into by doing the mobility. Hydrate. And then from there, we're going to go into the stretching and self-myofascial release aspect of the class. So in the class, we'll go through all our joints: neck, wrist, shoulders, elbows, spine in all of the segments. So cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, hips, knees, ankles, and feet and fingers. We'll do the mobility of the activating of the muscles. And then after we do that, we'll do the flexibility and the stretching of the muscles. And then after we do the stretching, we'll do the myofascial release for all of the joints and muscles. So for today, we're going to do a downward dog based stretch first, and then some self-myofascial release. So downward facing dog, we come into, it's like a triangle if you haven't done it before. I gotta take these off or I'm gonna slide. There we go. Now you can bend your knees, because downward facing dog is about spinal alignment, not how straight your legs can get. So instead of being legs straight and super rounded, bend your knees and let your spine straighten out. And then from there, we're gonna bring our one leg to the center. We're gonna cross our other leg underneath. And then for the purpose of this stretch, we're going to straighten our leg to stretch the calf. And we're going to take a couple breaths there. And then we'll switch to the other side. So opposite foot down, cross the leg underneath, and then try to straighten the leg to stretch the calf. And deep breaths. And then from there, to get a little bit of a thoracic twist in, coming back to that downward dog. Opposite hand is going to come to opposite leg. We're going to pull through and hold. And twist. You can look to the ceiling if you want. Come back to center, and then same thing, other side. Twist, and look to the ceiling. And back to center. And then from there, we're going to try out some self-myofascial release. So for this one, we're going to do, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Oh, no, it's good. Oh, I got dust in my nose from doing the downward dog. Okay, so we're going to do our piriformis first. So tennis ball, lacrosse ball, golf ball. You can use a kettlebell if you don't have any of those options. I've even seen people use a hard shoe. Whatever you need to, you just need something tiny. Foam roller would be fine if you have a foam roller. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick it right in the middle of our glute. Take the leg that we're crossing, and we're going to cross like a figure 4. And now I know it's called foam rolling, and I'm going to teach this a little bit more in detail in the class, but the rolling aspect is to kind of find that point that you're oh, right there, oh, right there. So some people explain it as a zinger. So find your zinger, and then you wait, and you breathe. And what that's doing is it's rehydrating that area. There's a lot of science behind it, but that's the simple version. And then we'll do the other side, uncross, switch legs. So under the glute, come up, cross the leg over, And then you move side to side, back and forth, trying to find that spot where you're like, oh my goodness. And then you breathe there. And for my pain enthusiasts, we're not looking for like a 10 out of 10 on the pain scale. That would actually put your body into like a stress response, and it would not do what it's supposed to do. So when you're looking for like a how, like, oh, that's a zinger, you're looking for like a 5 to 7, maybe 8 on the pain threshold. You're not looking for something super, super painful. So pull up a little bit if you're pushing that hard. Continue breathing through there. And then last one we're going to do today is our neck. So we're going to go right here. You got like a little hole that you can feel. We're going to put the ball there. We're going to lay down on the ground. If the ball moves or anything like that, you can put it in a sock. That will hold it still. Or on top of a blanket, whatever you need to do. So I'm going to face this way for you guys. Ball goes underneath. And we're going to lie back and take a couple breaths there. If you want to maybe tuck your chin or lift the chin up, gently move side to side, kind of feel around, feeling for any zingers, you can do that. And we'll take one more deep breath. Okay, coming out of our self-myofascial release. All right, so that was a little bit of a sample of what to expect for the class. Like I said, this is going to be low intensity, but there's still going to be exercise. But it's low intensity exercise. So we're working on protecting our joints through active movement in full range of motion, followed by stretching and some self-myofascial release. As well, like I said, there's going to be an educational component. So throughout the class, I'm going to be teaching you guys kind of behind things, kind of like I did today, but a little bit more in depth so that you can leave with an understanding of all the things that you hear when you're scrolling through social media. People are saying, oh, foam roll, or oh, your hip hurts because your glute's not firing. And like all of those terms I'm going to explain to you guys so that you understand. And of course, there's going to be swords, there's going to be shields because this is a Valkyrie class. There's also going to be self-myofascial release balls. I'll be providing all of those. All you need to do is bring yourself a water bottle, and if you want to have something to lay on the floor on, yoga mat, towel, blanket, it doesn't matter, all inclusive. From there, as a reminder, there is a contest going on from now until Stardust. So if you answer the question at the end of these videos, so you can go back to all the other class previews I've done from now. I think we started in like October or September. We've been doing class previews for all of the classes that are going to be available at Stardust. You can answer the questions in the comments and you get entered to win a free month of membership for our self-discovery membership for our Nexus app. So you get all of our fantasy fitness classes in the palm of your hand, plus food trackers, kind of like in MyFitnessPal, and there's a chat feature so you can talk to us along the way. So for today's question, I'm going to ask you if you think, based on what I taught you in the beginning of this video, do you think you need more mobility or if you need more flexibility, and why? That's the question. So if you answer that in the comments, that is one entry into getting a free membership for a month. Other than that, I want to remind you guys to stay tuned for we have 3 more classes to preview from now until Stardust, as well as one final recap of all the classes that we'll be doing right before Stardust. So stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoy your week. I hope you enjoy the new year. Happy New Year. I don't think I said that yet. Happy New Year. It's 2025. And I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great evening. Bye.